So let's say you want to calculate a rate. For the rate, we're going to take those statements on the last slide and write them out as an equation. So we're going to be dividing some kind of count or frequency divided by the total number in the group that you're looking at, and we're going to multiply that by something called a base number. And as an example, we're going to use homicides per 10,000 people. So let's say we have two cities. In city number 1, there are 240,000 people and 120 homicides. In city number 2, there are 48,000 people with also 120 homicides. And I wrote one with a K and one with 1,000, which is going to bother me, but we're going to leave it. So we have a city with 240,000 people with 120 homicides, and a city of 48,000 people with also 120 homicides. So if you just looked at the counts here, or the frequency of homicides in each city, you'd say, oh, it's the same, right? We have 120 homicides in both places. But that doesn't tell you quite the whole story. So with a rate, we're going to find out the number of homicides that you have for every 10,000 people who live in the city. So for our first city here, we're going to use our equation and we're going to calculate our rate. So we have f over n times a base number. Our frequency is going to be the count or number of homicides that we have. So here our count is 120. N is going to be the total number of people in the group that we're looking at. So you can think of it kind of like the N that you use to talk about a sample, which is the total number of people in the group that you're looking at. So here our total number is going to be 240,000. Times some base number. And the base number is something that is chosen by the person who is coming up with the rate. So a researcher, a statistician, me if I'm making you do this for homework. And the base number is your per some number of people or something else. So here we're looking at homicides per 10,000 people. Your base number is going to be 10,000. And then we can just do this math out. So if we divide 120 into 240,000 and multiply it times 10,000, it comes out to 5. This means that we have 5 homicides per 10,000 people. All right, so that's our homicide rate for city A here. How about city B? Oh, we're going to use the same equation. We have f over n times our base number. F is again going to be that total count or frequency, which here we say is the same thing. So we have 120 homicides in city B as well. So 120 is going to be our f. N is the total number of people in the group that we're looking at, which in this case is a city of 48,000 people. So n is going to be 48,000. Our base number, again, is set by me in deciding how we're going to count the homicides. So we're counting them per 10,000 people. That means our base number is 10,000. If we do this math out, we get 25, which means that we have 25 homicides per 100,000 people. All right, so now we have these two rates that give us different information about how safe each of these cities are relative to the other one. And in city A here, we only have 5 homicides per every, say 10,000, not 100,000. for every 10,000 people. And as a reminder, if you find any notes in or mistakes in these notes that I don't find, tell me and you can get extra credit, because they do sneak in there. As I've said before, talking and writing at the same time has never been my strong suit, which is why I do it as a profession. All right, so we have 5 homicides per 10,000 people versus 25 homicides per 10,000 people. And so those are pretty different numbers, right? You can look at this at a glance and see that this city has a lot more homicide per 10,000 people who live there than this city does. And so that's all I'm going to go into for rates in terms of how to calculate them. But what it does is it gives you a way to compare to counts with some sort of benchmark for a population.